circle back on the transparency question. As I say, we've described very clearly what it is we're doing and not doing in documents we've given to the Hill. We discuss what it is we're doing with any stakeholder who has particular interests in the negotiations. With respect to our proposals, we share those with a group of 600 or 700 advisors in a broad range of areas: small business, large business, labor, consumer groups, environmental groups, so that we get a broad range of input from our stakeholders on our proposals. And of course, we discuss them in great detail with the people's representatives in the Congress. We don't make them publicly available. I mean, they are available to the groups who can help us provide input. We don't make them publicly available because we want to give our regulators some space to regulate. We're trying to achieve the balance between transparency, which is critically important. We spend a lot of time, a lot of effort explaining what it is that we do, but we do need to balance that with giving our negotiators space to negotiate. I think Jakob, when you mentioned the limits of transparency, I think you're right. There's only so much you can do with it with text, and of course we hear lots of complaints about we don't know what's in your ISDS proposal. And of course, our model ISDS proposal has been out there for years on our website. So sometimes, not for everybody, of course, but for some people, transparency is maybe a little bit of an excuse. Your question about trust, I think can help build trust by trying to explain very forthrightly what it is we're doing and keeping the lines of communication open. Ultimately, as I think Ignacio was suggesting, we're not going to negotiate an agreement that compromises standards, that undermines consumer protections, that undermines labor protections, that undermines environmental protections, because it simply wouldn't pass muster among our stakeholders and our Congress. The deal wouldn't work. So it's important to establish trust. I agree with that. But on the other hand, the proof of the pudding is when we have the deal and it delivers. And if it doesn't deliver, it won't succeed. So you don't necessarily need to trust us. We know where our interests lie in getting a deal that will actually succeed in both of our economies.
On the issue of trust, I think it's a general problem. I think it's a general problem of lack of trust on public authorities. By the way, not only European authorities, also national authorities. And I think it's a problem that all governments are facing at this point in time. I mean, in terms of what we can do as European Commission, we certainly do not miss any opportunity to explain, to communicate, to debate, to enter into conversations about our trade policy. By the way, not only in TTIP. It is true that we started this first on TTIP, but I would say we are now trying to spread these practices throughout our entire cycle of trade negotiations. And of course, in the near future, there's going to be an important moment because TTIP, for the time being, does not exist. So, of course, until you see the outcome, everything which you hear, you have to take it on trust. But the agreement that we have been negotiating with Canada, it exists. It is out there, and very soon we will come to the important moment when the member states in the Council and the European Parliament will need to take a decision to allow that agreement to enter into force. And I think that, as I said, inevitably there's always going to be those who do not necessarily trust or believe what the public officials say. But what is very important is whatever is being said, we are being accountable for it. So at some point in time, the text of TTIP will be out there, and if anyone identifies anything in TTIP that goes against the guarantees that both of us have been given, that the level of protection is not going to be lower, I'm sure that we will be politically accountable for that.